This is it. This is the 2018 World Championship predictions. This is Crystal Racing, and my pick to be this year's world champion will be Lewis Hamilton. For me, the Briton is as ever impervious under pressure. Whilst this year he may have the inferior machinery and an engine that is now finally lost out in the power race with the Scuderia, Lewis Hamilton has been headstrong under pressure. Lewis Hamilton started the season off in Australia with a pole position, and it was only thanks to the lock of the safety car which came out when the two Haas stopped out on track that Lewis Hamilton finished second, thanks to Ferrari capitalising on the surprise stoppage, allowing Vettel to jump Hamilton, which many questioned what happened, but unfortunately luck was not on the Mercedes side. Bahrain saw Lewis Hamilton forced to finishing third after having to change a gearbox and taking a penalty as a result. And in China, Lewis Hamilton struggled further when he finished down in fourth after having general car issues. However, thanks to a stroke of luck in Azerbaijan, Lewis Hamilton won the Azerbaijani Grand Prix in Baku despite locking up his tyres halfway through the race, thanks to Vettel overshooting turn one at the safety car restart and a horrendous piece of luck for Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton followed this up with a dominant, crushing victory at the Spanish Grand Prix, taking pole and with only his teammate as his so-called challenge. Monaco, as expected, was a bit more of a struggle for Hamilton, but unlike last year where Hamilton finished down in 7th, Hamilton salvaged the podium finish. However, he would struggle once again in Canada, finishing in 5th place. However, thanks to Vettel's over-optimistic dive at turn 1 in France at the refurbished Puerto Rico circuit, Lewis Hamilton again dominated, taking pole and the win. However, Austria did see Lewis Hamilton struggle significantly thanks to a poor choice of pit strategy, and followed up by an unfortunate hydraulics failure with only less than 10 laps of the race to go. Lewis Hamilton was then suffered even further bad luck at Britain when after a poor start, Kimi Raikkonen overshot turn 3 and accidentally took Lewis Hamilton off and dropped the Briton down to last place. However, in Germany, when the Ferraris were on top, thanks to a sudden rainstorm in the middle of the race, saw race leader Sebastian Vettel crash out. And Lewis Hamilton, despite the fact that he had cut across the pit entrance and ran across the grass, where there was a huge debate of whether he should have got a penalty or not for that incident, Lewis Hamilton was able to make good use of team orders to win a very, very valuable 25 points and take away a very valuable, and of course followed up by his most recent Hungarian Grand Prix victory, where he won from pole position thanks to another stroke of luck where the rain poured down in qualifying, favouring his machine and his tyres and his package. I think Lewis Hamilton, with the championship advantage he has of 24 points in front of Sebastian Vettel, has surely got to win. Yes, I know the next two tracks at Belgium and Italy should favour Ferrari. However, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes are surely got some new upgrades coming up. And you have to realise, with Mercedes having won the past 4 Constructors' Championship, they have been in the face of the battle, and they've been having to deal with having to sit there and make sure their car is absolutely on top in these situations, of course, not only, of course, whilst no team has seriously challenged Mercedes for the past 4 or 5 years, they have always sat down and speculated what if any team such as Ferrari or Red Bull got close to them. And of course, we have seen certain races, such as the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix, where Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel did take a brilliant win on strategy. And not only that, but of course, we have seen races this season, such as in China, where Red Bull and Daniel Ricciardo successfully made use of the safety car period to jump the front runners. But despite the fact that Ferrari have had the advantage this season, they have not made the most of it. And now it is time for me to move on to Lewis Hamilton's championship challenger, Sebastian Vettel, who has been wasting chances. This really should be Sebastian's season to seal a 5th World Championship. However, I think he is not making the most of it. And not only that, his teammate Kimi Raikkonen is driving better than ever for at least the past 5 years. Of course, Sebastian Vettel opened the 2 opening races of this season in dominant fashion. He won in Australia despite the fact Lewis Hamilton had taken pole position by over 7/10 of a second, thanks to that fluky safety car period kicked off by the 2 Haas, retiring on the side of the road after a wheel hub failure. And Ferrari were thinking very quickly, got Vettel in and took advantage of the pit lane rules under the safety car, which meant that Sebastian Vettel did not need to adhere towards the pit lane speed limit, meaning that he was able to put his foot down at 150 plus miles an hour and then stop just in time for his pit box. Sebastian followed this up with a win and a podium at Bahrain. However, with a one-stop strategy, Ferrari pitted Vettel far too early, and Sebastian Vettel was very fortunate that Valtteri Bottas completely bottled a potential final lap lunge at the German at Bahrain. However, unfortunately, the next 3 races for Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari would not go so well. Vettel had been leading the Chinese Grand Prix after having taken pole position by only a few hundredths of a second over teammate Kimi Raikkonen. The race looked like it was going to go Ferrari's way until, of course, they pitted Sebastian Vettel far too late, giving Valtteri Bottas the upper hand. And as a result, Ferrari then complicated matters further by using Kimi Raikkonen as a roadblock in order to try and hold up Bottas. However, Bottas was able to clear Kimi's Ferrari in no time, and Sebastian Vettel, and with the safety car coming out for the 2 Toro Rossos clashing together, Ferrari had no chance to pit Vettel, and then once the safety car came in, Vettel, with his tyre temperatures down, was in serious trouble. Bottas was able to clear him. Ricciardo overtook him with absolute ease. And then, of course, came along Max Verstappen, who, into the final hairpin, at the end of the long back straight, clattered into Sebastian Vettel's scarlet Ferrari with no mercy, and with Sebastian Vettel's tyres horribly ruined, Vettel dropped even further back and suffered the ignominy of being overtaken by Nico Hulkenberg and his old arch rival Fernando Alonso. Vettel, as we all know, had been leading the Azerbaijani Grand Prix afterwards very dominantly until, of course, Ferrari came up with their very bizarre pit strategy of deciding to put Vettel on soft tyres around lap 35. despite the fact that Kimi Raikkonen had been struggling on the same yellow software tyres for the past 30 or so laps, and as a result, when the safety car came out, Ferrari had absolutely no choice but to put Sebastian Vettel onto the ultra soft tyres, meaning that he dropped behind Valtteri Bottas, who had not pitted, and Sebastian Vettel, in his desperation, lunged at Bottas into turn one, and not only did Hamilton and Raikkonen overtake him, but Sergio Perez nipped past, and Vettel was forced to concede defeat once again. Spain would see the new Pirelli thinner tread tyres introduced. Vettel would finish a very ignominious fourth place after Ferrari rather badly timed his pit stop. His second pit stop of the race made him pit. Of course, the second pit stop came under the safety car for some little skirmish between a few other drivers, and Vettel dropped behind Max Verstappen, who, of course, as we know, got his first podium of the season. Sebastian Vettel then followed it up with a second place finish at Monaco, where, due to the tight confines of the Monte Carlo circuit, he was unable to get past Daniel Ricciardo's ailing Red Bull. But then at Canada, at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Sebastian Vettel was able to win dominantly with pole position. But however, at France, he would, unfortunately, after having qualified in third place behind the two Mercedes, who had came over better setup and had adapted to the circuit much more quickly. Sebastian Vettel attempted to overtake Bottas, only to lock up and clatter Bottas. Vettel was handed a 5-second penalty, and despite a brilliant comeback drive, could only finish in 5th place. Behind Daniel Ricciardo, whilst teammate Kimi Raikkonen was able to overtake and finish in 3rd place. Austria would see Sebastian Vettel hit with more bad luck. This time he was awarded a 3 grid place penalty for forcing Carlos Sainz off the circuit during Q3, which meant that he was, and of course at the start of the Austrian Grand Prix he had a fairly mediocre start and was pretty much forced to wait for Ricciardo and Hamilton to retire, as well as having to get past the two Haas in order to finish 3rd place behind Kimi Raikkonen, who had been closing down on Max Verstappen. So as a result, Ferrari refused to call team orders on Raikkonen due to the possibility of the Finn catching the young Dutchman. Sebastian Vettel would bounce back with a win and a fastest lap at the British Grand Prix. However, part of this did come from Lewis Hamilton being taken out at turn 3 by his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. But regardless of that happening, Bottas did grab the lead later on in the race, which did force Sebastian Vettel to pull off a magnificent move down into Nuffield. A move that well and truly got him a very worthy race win. However, in Germany, things would go very horribly wrong. After having taken pole position and having led the race very comfortably from the start, Ferrari's attempt to try and get Kimi Raikkonen to hold up the Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas went horribly wrong, when it turned out that Kimi had very good pace on his second stint, and when Sebastian emerged from his pit stop, he came out a few seconds behind Raikkonen, who actually started pulling away from him. And of course came those awkward few laps when Ferrari engineer Jock Clear tried to tell Kimi to move over by trying to say we need to save tyres, blah blah blah, but Kimi of course didn't understand what the hell he was going on about, so he literally forced the issue, begged Jock Clear to tell him to move over. And despite the fact that Sebastian Vettel had built up an 8-second lead over Kimi in slightly increasing damp conditions, Sebastian Vettel parked his car into the barriers in the stadium section, and all the Max Verstappen fans erupted with laughter. Sebastian Vettel bad luck then continued in Hungary, where thanks to wet qualifying, the Ferrari was uncompetitive, and he was out qualified by teammate Kimi for the second time this season. And despite a brilliant start to the race, he would spend most of it stuck behind Bottas. And to be quite frankly honest, I have to say I don't get the sense that I just don't think Sebastian Vettel really has the ability to make the most of his chances, and I think that's why he will lose to Lewis Hamilton. And now moving on to Kimi Raikkonen, who has had his best season since 2013. The Iceman has picked up 8 podiums this season. That's more podiums than his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Kimi has been driving the best I've seen him since he's returned to Formula 1, if I'm going to be frankly honest. And yes, that elusive win still hasn't come yet. I can't believe he still hasn't won a race, but of course, as we all know, he is Ferrari's number 2 driver. And despite a few poor performances here and there, such as in Canada, where he finished in 6th place, and that unfortunate pit stop in Bahrain, where he ran over his Francesco Cigarani, Kimi has actually managed to get a run of form going, and he has been finishing on the podium 5 times this season. Well, 5 times, 5 consecutive podiums as of this mid-season break. So, I mean, this is the thing. You have to realise, while Sebastian Vettel is the number 1 driver, I just get the sense Kimi could well sneak in a win, which could well damage Sebastian Vettel's chances. Hence why Lewis Hamilton, for me, has to be the favourite, because, quite frankly, with Kimi Raikkonen getting a 2019 contract, I am sure Kimi will want to end his days in Formula 1 having won quite a few races and having been competitive in at least. So, it is now time to go on to the other wingman, Mercedes wingman, Valtteri Bottas, who was utterly devastated when he found out in a Sky Sports interview that his team principal, Toto Wolff, had described him as a really excellent wingman. Bottas has shown faster speed, but the rubber the green has not come his way. After having started the season with a mediocre 8th place after crashing out in qualifying in Australia, Bottas almost won in Bahrain, but he just couldn't. He kind of shied away from making a last lap attempt on Vettel. He followed this up with a 2nd place finish in China, where he was powerless in overtaking a ridiculously tenacious Daniel Ricciardo. But in Azerbaijan, Bottas literally ran out of luck just after Sebastian Vettel had overshot his attempt of overtaking Bottas at turn 1. One entire lap later, the rear right tyre of Bottas's car burst into debris, and Bottas was ordered by Charlie Whiting to pull over it and stop at the side of the circuit. Everyone's heart broke for him, but unfortunately, it has to be said, Bottas hasn't really been that great since. Of course, in Spain he finished 2nd, but he was about 20 seconds behind teammate Lewis Hamilton. Bottas did finish 5th in Monaco, where he was nowhere near the pace. Canada, Bottas got the better of Hamilton again, but could only finish 2nd, with Bottas keeping a comfortable gap throughout the race. France saw Bottas then suffer another stroke of bad luck, where he was clattered into by Sebastian Vettel and finished down in 7th. Bottas then took pole in Austria, but was forced to park up after only 15 laps. In Britain, Bottas was in a winning position, but then his tyres gave way, meaning he had to settle for 4th place. Bottas was then called openly to play wingman in Germany to guarantee Lewis Hamilton a win, meaning that he had to take 2nd and was. And then, of course, it was followed up again by the most recent race in Hungary, where he took a 5th place finish after hitting Vettel and then hitting Ricciardo in a desperate attempt to hang on to 2nd, and then what was 4th place. I've got to say this about Valtteri Bottas. I just don't get the feeling he's going to get any real opportunities to do well this season. With the car being inferior to the Ferrari, with the tyre management not as good and the general handling and straight line speed being inferior, I don't think Bottas is going to do that particular as well as last year. And for me, Mercedes have got to be. Having said that, though, Valtteri Bottas's performances could well cost Mercedes the Constructors' Championship, and I think Ferrari will take advantage. However, Ferrari do need to make improvements to their pit strategies. I really do think that Ferrari need to stop making mistakes like in Baku, where they put Vettel on yellow soft tyres after Kimi struggled on the same set of yellow soft tyres. They need to avoid doing silly stuff like, I don't know, underestimating Kimi's pace at certain races like Germany. And, you know, they kind of need to stop. They need to realise there's a 2-car team. So for me, Lewis Hamilton is the favourite to win the Drivers' Championship, but Mercedes are the favourites to win the Constructors' Championship thanks to Kimi Raikkonen's heavily improved form this season. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have tried to give it as much insight as possible. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next.